Real meat of this topic, right?
Yeah.
With the president coach, Steve Cleveland, joining us on BYU Sports Nation.
Let's crank this up. We're
Coach,
cranking it up. It's semifinal Monday. Let's
we
go.
gave our thoughts. We think something drastic needs to happen. Pick one thing that BYU would do tonight, other than score more points, that would ensure a win against St. Mary's.
Well, first of all, there's not one thing. So let's just make that. That's great for TV and radio.
He just stuffed your shot out of bounds.
That's not happening. Okay, that's not happening. I want to give you a little bit of context, and then the challenge that we kind of understand, and then kind of where we are today. We talked a little bit about finding a chink in the armor. That it's been hard to penetrate it. And as you said, even when BYU's played well, it wasn't good enough. So context. They've won 3 in a row. Confidence is good. This group has played for about 4 weeks together now. More continuity, more understanding of roles. Guys get along. They're all kind of on the same page. That was not the case 4 weeks ago. All right. Now, number 2, players seem to be more accountable to each other. I've sat on the floor. I've watched the players. There's more communication. So I like the maturity of this team, and they've taken a step in the right direction. Now, the challenge, St. Mary's. Talk about comparing. I mean, St. Mary's is #1 in defense, #1 in rebound margin, #1 in free throw shooting, #1 in three-point. I mean, there are very few weaknesses with this team, but the talent of these two teams is not that different, okay? And so when I think that the coaching staff, and I haven't talked to them, but if I were going to coach this game tonight, on misses, on turnovers, I would attack, okay? Where the floor is open and spread. Take open threes. Slam it down inside. Push the ball up the floor. Penetrate attack. So I would want you in the attack mode. On makes and dead balls, they got to open the floor up. They got to open the floor up. The high ball screen that they used in the last 5 minutes against Gonzaga, I like that. But that's not the only way you can open the floor up. But it's a good one. Put 2 shooters in the corner. Put Mika up, who can pick and pop and roll, and get Yoli going back and forth. It takes all the help away. Because right now, if you just play traditional basketball and 3 out, 2 in, it is clogged in the middle.
Their post defense is way too good.
It's like a wall.
Yeah.
It's just like a wall, okay? And
Matt Damon's not on it.
No, exactly. The Great Wall is not there. The Great Wall is St. Mary's.
That was probably a bad movie. Yeah.
I actually saw that movie.
Did you?
Was a really boring time I was on the road.
No, it was St. Mary's. It was St. Mary's. Really boring.
It did remind me of St. Mary's, the Great Wall. So, but
Go Rayhans, Matt Damon.
They block out. They want to clog it up. They want to muddy the game up. They want to make it really difficult. BYU, we can call it youth, but it's not just youth. Any team that plays St. Mary's has to be patient, okay? And let's take a look at the defensive end. So at the defensive end, it requires concentration, discipline, togetherness. Guys got to be come on, stay down. They got to help each other because they're going to have to defend for 15 to 20 seconds every possession.
At least, right?
At least, okay? So one of the things that St. Mary's does that's really effective that Gonzaga does not do or anybody else in this league is how much we love to run. The BYU team loves to run the floor. They want to attack, but they always have a 4-man right there on the free throw line waiting for the point guard. So not only does TJ Haas have someone defending him, but he's got a 6'8", 6'9" post player sitting right clogging the middle up. So I think misses and makes are key. Mika cannot be off the floor except for resting. And then they got to get to the free throw line 20 times. All right? If BYU gets to the free throw line 20 times, Mika is able to play the game, and they're able to go misses and makes and spread the floor. You're about 90% there. The last thing is let them play zone defense. This team is confident in the zone. They're not that confident in man-to-man. They love to be in that 2-3 and that 1-3-1. Why is that? Because there's help around. All right. Even if they get out of stretch, there's always 4 guys behind him. When they get man-to-man and spread out, oftentimes the help disappears. All right. So I like the zone. I like changing the zone and keeping them. And so what you do is at BYU, like they did at Gonzaga, this game's close at the end. They beat St. Mary's at the game they play. They slow it down, they spread it out, and make them come. If BYU gets a lead, in this game, 6, 8, 10 points early, then that forces St. Mary's to play quick. It's something they don't like to play.
So an early lead.
An early lead would be really helpful, but even a late lead would be good. But either way, you get a lead, don't come down and get happy about shooting it. spread it, get to the free throw line, and just be patient. Just be patient.
I would just love for BYU not to go down 18-2. I think that would be great.
Yeah, that should give him a better shot, right?
Yeah.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Okay, what does BYU do better than St. Mary's, in your opinion, that they can use tonight?
They've shot 446 free throws. St. Mary's has shot 275.
But St. Mary's does not foul a lot.
No, they don't. They don't. But I'm just saying they have an inclination. That's one of BYU's strengths. You ask me one thing they do better, they make more free throws. All right? Mika's made, he's made more free throws than most teams take. And so I think that's a strength. That's what hey, it's one thing we're really good at, then get to the free throw line. How do you get to the free throw line? You don't settle. You don't settle for 12 and 14
You're
foot jump
aggressive
shots
inside.
You're aggressive inside. You go to the rack. I'm not saying you don't take perimeter threes, and of course you do. But when you attack strong. Initiate contact. Make the officials call. Now, you are going to have Final Four officials. More than likely, they'll let them play, just like they do in the NC2A, which is not to BYU's advantage. But that's one thing that BYU does. There statistically is nothing that BYU is better in that means something than St. Mary's. They've got the ones in all of them. So the only thing they really have an advantage is in free throws.
Truth bomb from President Coach Steve Cleveland.
There's been a lot of those here.
I thought about Elijah Bryant and the impact he's had on this BYU team quite a bit over the weekend.
He's a new man since they played St. Mary's. The game after St. Mary's was the 39.
That's the thing. And so as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, man, the injury early in the season to Elijah Bryant, I think has made the biggest impact on this BYU team and the way things played out for the majority of the season because he didn't have time to gel with TJ and Nick on the floor. Well, now he's been playing with them, and you're starting to see that come together. So if I'm going to rest my hope on like one thing tonight, it's like, well, I don't think St. Mary's has had to defend a confident, healthy Elijah Bryant, and they'll have to do that tonight.
They will. And the other thing is that he can guard Hermanson. He's big enough. He's 6'5", and he can guard him, and then he can contribute at the other end. Davin Gwynn can guard him, but he can't bring what Elijah brings offensively, right. And so you get a better situation there. But I agree. You know what? He's letting the game come to himself. He kind of got lost a little bit in that LMU game a few times. Suddenly he started to put his head down and just started bowling people over. But he has been the difference in these last three games. I mean, he can score. He's passing. He can score around the rim and take a hit. And so, again, he likes to make contact. He loves contact. Yeah. Get to the free throw line. Get to the free throw line. So that's how you got to just chip away. But you have to do things that sometimes maybe you've not been doing in the past. And I know this coaching staff will have this team prepared. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be comfortable with that zone. They may not start in it initially, but they have to attack and get to the free throw line.
Dave Rose has not lost 3 in a season to the same team in the last 12 years. What does that say about his ability to find a way to beat a team at least once?
Well, there's the preparation, film breakdown, great coaches around him, players that respond to it, all of those things. I will say this, too. The last time he had a team like this was his first year, and they've always had talent here. I started thinking about Lee Camard, Keena Young, Trent Plaisted. They were all players of the year on his first team. And they didn't. Keena had a broken arm.
Somebody left him a furnished house.
Yeah. But and the reason I bring this up is that when you have talent and you have really good coaching, you can avoid getting swept 3 times. Okay, so I believe that they have the talent. You got great coaching. And so it bodes well for BYU and for what Dave has done. But there are some teams that lose 3 times because the talent level is not the same, or maybe coaching is inexperienced or whatever. But that's not the case here. St. Mary's is not any more talented. The difference between St. Mary's over the whole season and BYU is that St. Mary's is the sum of all their parts. That's the difference, okay? And individually, BYU has been here, and here. And now we're seeing in the last 2 weeks of the season that together they're better than they are individually, one by one.
Great stuff, Coach.
Yep.
We always appreciate it. You can hear more from Steve Cleveland on the bridge shows of the women's basketball semifinals today.
Yeah, and halftimes, I think.
Halftime.
Along with Dave McCann and Blaine Fowler.
Our faithful promoter.
Yeah, good luck getting a word in. Halftime
that's not going to happen. Today. That's not going to happen. Those guys got all the answers and have no idea what they're doing.
I'll kill their minds.
We got a football coach and a guy that coaches Pee Wee baseball. What is